Within the royal family, Prince Charles and Princess Anne are among the siblings who attract the most attention. After many years in the spotlight, there is clear evidence that Kate Middleton is prepared to become queen. Supportive messages for Catherine and my father have poured in from the public. Inside Windsor Castle, Princess Anne entered carrying a sealed letter that was not meant to make headlines. It was a message for the family only. King Charles's final words were simple and heartfelt, not wrapped in ceremony or tradition. When Anne read them out loud, everything shifted. In that moment, Prince William realized the monarchy's future had quietly changed. But what exactly did that letter say that deeply moved William? To understand, let's get into the story. The day that changed everything. The room at Windsor Castle felt heavy and tense as senior members of the family gathered in the main drawing room. There were no camera flashes or scheduled announcements, just family members sitting quietly, knowing something difficult was coming. Then Princess Anne entered alone through heavy wooden doors. She had no escorts and didn't need any formal greeting. Her presence alone was powerful enough to hush even whispered conversations. In her hand, she carried a single letter sealed with red wax and looked final. This was King Charles's last message to his family. It wasn't intended for newspapers or the public. It held private words meant only for those linked by blood and shared duty. You could see the weight on Anne's face, though she kept her usual calm. All eyes fixed on her as she moved to the center of the room. Her voice was steady but firm, making everyone lean in. She talked about his final request, and her words seemed to slow time itself. What struck the room most wasn't the message itself. It was who brought it, the messenger. Why had Charles chosen Princess Anne? Why not the Archbishop of Canterbury or Prince William, the heir? The answer became clear as everyone watched Anne's steady face. Charles trusted only her to deliver his last words, only his sister. Anne had always been a steady presence in his life. She was the dependable one, never seeking praise or attention. She was part of the royal family who had stood beside him during every scandal, every quiet moment, and every family crisis that tested their bond. Princess Anne earned this trust through years of quiet dedication and loyal service. While some family members sometimes wavered or chose their own paths, Anne stayed consistent. She understood her duty deeply, beyond just public appearances or media coverage. Her commitment was genuine and rooted in her heart. As Anne carefully unfolded the letter, the room grew feelably tense. Everyone sensed this wasn't going to be a usual farewell note or a common message from a dying king. Something about this moment felt different, ready to challenge what they expected. Then, there was something nobody anticipated. King Charles's final request wasn't what anyone predicted. Instead of mentioning Prince William as future king, or talking about a smooth transfer of power, the message focused on someone else entirely. The letter highlighted Catherine, the Duchess of Cambridge, in a way that took everyone by surprise. Suddenly, all eyes shifted from Prince William straight to Catherine. The shift was quick and obvious. The tension in the room finally broke, but not with loud words or tears. It broke with something much deeper, an old certainty slipping away and new questions rising. Prince William's breakdown was quiet but powerful. It was not a dramatic fall or a visible cry. His feelings hid beneath the surface, yet they cut deeply. When he heard his father's unexpected final wish, something inside him changed. His breath caught and held for seconds. His shoulders, usually straight and proud, slumped as if a heavy weight pressed down on him. This wasn't a moment for tears or loud despair. It was an internal, personal moment of loss. For one brief second, the man destined to be king seemed completely lost. William's confusion didn't come from weakness or fear. He had faced hard times and handled pressure before. This reaction was different. It was the realization that this moment wasn't going how he thought it would. At 41, William had spent his life preparing for royal duties. He learned how to give speeches, handle formal events, and understand the heavy burden of the crown. He studied the politics and diplomacy of being king. But nothing during all those years prepared him for this one quiet moment. William had always believed the same thing everyone around him did. When King Charles's reign ended, the crown would pass smoothly from father to son. A final letter would be exchanged, full of wisdom about kingship, some personal memories, and a formal nod to William as the next ruler. That's how the royal family had done it for hundreds of years. But instead, King Charles's message centered on someone else, Catherine, William's wife. This wasn't just a symbol or a gesture. It marked a real change in how they saw the future of the monarchy. The focus had shifted from the traditional male heir to the woman who would be by his side. William gripped the polished mahogany table so tightly his knuckles turned white. His eyes grew misty. Yet these tears weren't for sadness or grief. They came from a different kind of pressure. The load of expectations, centuries of tradition, and a legacy that suddenly felt much more complicated and overwhelming than he knew. The kind of stress William faced then was something only one other person in the world might fully understand. It was the weight of knowing millions watched every move he made. Every choice would be judged. People wondered if he was worthy of the crown. It was the burden of carrying a 1,000-year-old institution into a changing world. Just as it seemed the pressure might crush him, someone in the room moved. She didn't speak words of comfort or try to soften the moment. Instead, Catherine stood up and moved beside her husband. Her hand gently rested on William's back, offering silent support. Her face stayed calm and steady, never showing how much emotion was swirling inside. She didn't feel the need to perform or put on a show. Her quiet confidence and stillness said more than any speech could. This was only the start of revelations that would change everything they believed. Queen Elizabeth's secret message. Princess Anne's part that day went far beyond just delivering King Charles's last words. After the shock of the king's final request faded into the castle's ancient stones, Anne reached into her coat and pulled something out. It was an older document, more personal, and filled with greater emotion. The item in her hands wasn't from King Charles. It was a handwritten note from Queen Elizabeth II herself. The familiar script had signed countless official papers during her 70 years on the throne. The paper showed its age. Slightly yellowed edges and carefully folded marks revealed it had been opened many times. It wasn't a long, formal letter filled with grand words. Instead, it had just one sentence written in her careful handwriting. "She is the foundation holding everything steady." Her words were simple and straightforward, free of fancy language or royal style. They showed a quiet, unwavering confidence from a queen who had seen more change and hardship than any other in Britain's history. The most striking part of this note wasn't just what it said, But when it was written, Queen Elizabeth wrote these words years before she passed away in September 2022. She made this statement long before King Charles's health began to fail, or questions about who would succeed her became public. The Queen had a rare talent for seeing potential and patterns in people that others missed entirely. Over her long reign, she watched many come and go from royal circles, politicians, diplomats, family members, and public figures, all under extreme pressure. Her judgment of character was shaped by decades of experience that no school or training could teach. What Queen Elizabeth saw in Catherine went far beyond her being Prince William's wife or future queen consort. The former queen recognized qualities that showed Catherine wouldn't just follow royal rules like others. Instead, she was quietly becoming something much more important. She would likely be the backbone of the entire monarchy someday. This insight didn't come from favoritism or sentiment. It was based on careful observation of how Catherine handled pressure. Elizabeth saw how she faced media scrutiny, family issues, and public hopes with calm and grace. Catherine didn't need headlines or dramatic shows to prove herself. She didn't chase applause or crave media attention. Most importantly, she never seemed to crack under the weight of royal life. She adapted quietly and with dignity. When traditions felt overwhelming, she carried them without complaints. When public opinion turned harsh or critical, she stayed committed. She didn't let negativity sway her or make her change how she acted. When the royal family had conflicts, Catherine stayed steady. She didn't panic or take sides. Instead, she helped hold the family together with her calm presence. Princess Anne's voice grew softer and more personal as she shared her own thoughts about Catherine. Anne stated clearly that Catherine was born for this role. She pointed out that Catherine wasn't trained or guided to become what she is today. Her qualities are natural and real, not learned or forced. Significantly, Princess Anne did not look at Prince William when she spoke about Catherine's fit for royal leadership. Her focus was directly on Catherine herself. This made her message clear to everyone present. Catherine's rise from an ordinary life to a royal leader started in a very common setting. She wasn't born into noble families or surrounded by royal traditions. Her childhood was spent in the countryside of Berkshire, where her parents, Michael and Carol Middleton, built a simple but successful life through hard work. The Middleton family was rooted in practical values and steady stability, things some royal branches had lost over time. They lacked inherited titles or large estates, but they had something just as important: dignity, persistence, and respect for others regardless of social rank. Catherine's early life was modest, not luxurious, but what seemed like a disadvantage later became one of her greatest strengths. The lessons she learned as a child, listening carefully, showing up on time, staying calm in tough moments, made her stand out in a family often associated with drama. During school at Marlborough College, she was known for quiet confidence. She took part in sports and social events, but never needed to be loud or showy to get attention. Her teachers and friends described her as someone kind, dependable, and naturally graceful. The biggest change in her life came when she decided to attend St. Andrews University in Scotland. This choice turned out to be one of the most important she would ever make. At the time, she had no way of knowing how it would shape her future. At St. Andrews, everything started to change slowly and quietly. These small shifts would eventually reshape the British monarchy's future. Catherine's first meeting with Prince William was simple. There were no grand gestures or love at first sight. Instead, they met as students dealing with typical college challenges. They went to lectures, studied together, and navigated their paths into adulthood. Their relationship was based on friendship, shared experiences, and genuine connection, not royal rules or public attention. What made their bond special wasn't passion or drama, but mutual respect and real understanding. Catherine never tried to impress William by pretending to be someone she wasn't. She didn't show off royal traditions or pretend to be the perfect princess. She remained herself, smart, kind, down to earth, and normal. While the media kept watch for signs of rivalry or scandal, Catherine stayed consistent. She avoided public displays or attention-seeking photos. She didn't play games or stir up drama to test William's feelings. Her steady behavior reflected the same strong character that would later help her in royal life. A classmate once said Catherine didn't change her core personality to fit into William's world. Instead, she grew more confident and comfortable with who she already was. This natural growth showed her true character. She could adapt without losing herself. Their relationship grew slowly over years, giving them time to understand each other's personalities, values, and dreams. Although some critics called their courtship long, it created a solid base for future challenges. When William finally proposed, his choice of place and way reflected how private and real their bond was. Instead of a public spectacle, he picked Kenya, an open, beautiful place with no media fuss. It was a quiet, thoughtful choice that set the tone for everything that came next. Their wedding showed Catherine's inner strength. On April 29, 2011, millions around the world watched and celebrated. That spring day, about 2.5 billion people paused their lives to see something special. From crowded streets in London to small villages in Africa, from busy cities in Asia to quiet towns in South America, screens lit up as everyone focused on Westminster Abbey. The world's interest in Catherine and William went far beyond normal celebrity fascination. This event held a deeper meaning, symbolizing hope, renewal, and positive change for a royal institution that had faced many setbacks and criticism over recent decades. People everywhere seemed to see this as more than just a wedding. It felt like the start of a new chapter for the British monarchy. When Catherine arrived at Westminster Abbey, it was a moment when everything seemed to pause for millions watching worldwide. She stepped out of the royal car wearing a dress that quickly became famous. It featured lace sleeves, a flowing shape, and a thin veil that looked like morning mist. The gown was stunning, but what truly drew attention was Catherine herself and the calm she showed. She didn't walk like someone caught by surprise or lucky by chance. Instead, she moved with quiet confidence, as if she knew exactly what she was accepting. She appeared prepared to face the responsibilities ahead. Her steps were steady, her posture perfect, and her face showed calm, not nerves. The wedding was a grand display of royal tradition and history. Cameras caught every detail: ornate carriages, grand music performed by top choirs, and carefully practiced moves. The military bands played, bells rang across London, and crowds cheered from every street. But behind all the show, the most important moments were the quiet ones. The cameras couldn't show what was in Catherine's eyes. Throughout the ceremony, her gaze stayed steady, focused, and calm. There was no sign of doubt, panic, or being overwhelmed by the moment. Even when she gave her vows, her eyes stayed clear, showing she was fully present. She was about more than just marrying William. She was taking on a role that came with centuries of tradition and public service. Her calm was no act. She had spent years learning how to handle the glare of media and public attention. Her skill in staying measured during her courtship, handling intrusive cameras with grace, and carrying herself with dignity, even when criticized, prepared her for moments like this. The balcony kiss at Buckingham Palace was the fairy tale ending everyone wanted. But it was also the start of a new, more difficult chapter. The romantic part was over. Now their real work as senior royals was about to begin. Soon after the honeymoon ended, Catherine saw what her life as a royal really demanded each day. Every public appearance required detailed planning and perfect execution. Her outfits were carefully examined by fashion experts and heavily criticized by tabloids. Her body language was watched closely by royal fans, searching for signs of stress or disagreement. Even simple actions like holding a pen or opening a car door could make headlines if captured from the right angle. Transitioning from wedding celebrations to royal responsibilities brought challenges that tested Catherine in unexpected ways. Long days filled with ceremonial duties felt dull but couldn't be skipped or made shorter. She often attended evening events where she made polite conversation with hundreds of strangers. During official tours, every moment was scheduled and every interaction observed by many cameras. Behind palace walls, away from the public eye, moments of doubt and fatigue no doubt appeared. The constant pressure of scrutiny, the responsibility of representing an entire institution, and the worry that any mistake would be blown out of proportion created stresses few could fully understand. The royal family didn't make big announcements, but change was happening. It was slow, quiet, and steady. And at the heart of it all was Catherine. She didn't seek attention or need a title to matter. Her actions, her work, and her calm presence already made a difference.